Was this just incredibly lucky timing? Or did Lauren Roberts really crack the code that every other YA fantasy author would love to know about? 1 minute, you've never heard of it, and the next, it's everywhere. I'm talking TikTok madness. This book, like fan art that could be, it's so good that it could be movie posters and pre-orders that are just off the charts. Lauren Roberts' book, The Powerless, her debut novel, it didn't just sell copies, it sent ripples through the YA fantasy market. Here's the real twist. Powerless didn't just ride the wave of YA fantasy novels. No, it built its own pool, filled it with water, and then somehow convinced the algorithm to throw everybody into the pool with it. Today, we are going to reverse engineer how this happened and break down the formula for success. First is a high concept premise that sold itself. So I want you to think about this one sentence. Think the Hunger Games meets the Red Queen, except the girl doesn't have any powers and the prince is trained to kill her. It immediately slots this story into two proven and well-known intellectual properties. And you know what to expect immediately. You know the vibe, you know the story. Second is the promise of life or death stakes. We know right up front, this is not going to be a walk through a park. This is going to be a high stakes survival story. And then third is that forbidden romance. We have a prince who's ordered to kill her. Come on, you know, you're already invested, right? Think about it this way. BookTok is a very high-paced, fast, 15-second clips. And so you can take that one sentence and you can grab people, because if you don't grab them right away, they've swiped away. And so what Roberts did is she created a formula to get people invested right up front. Roberts created the perfect elevator pitch for her book before she had even written it. You have this ordinary girl, a deadly kingdom, a killer crush, and that all equals perfect bait. It's concise, it's to the point, and it promises a world of drama. The next thing is a world built to stay stuck in your head. Now, a lot of fantasy novels, the world is just set dressing. It's where it takes place. It's not actually part of the plot. And in Roberts' book, The Powerless, the setting and the world is actually part of the plot. For example, you have the elites, these really powerful people, and they all live at the top of the hill by the castle in these great homes. And then you have the people with lesser powers and even the ordinaries that are hiding. They live in the slums at the bottom of the hill, down in the depths of society. They live in cardboard boxes. They don't have a lot of food to eat. The divide between the two groups is huge. So when our main protagonist, Peyton, goes from the slums to the castle, she's literally climbing up the hill. And that actually represents her social struggle to get out of the slums. She physically leaves the slums and goes to the top, but it also represents her internal struggle to survive in this world that wants her dead. You may be wondering how you use this in your writing. And so the way to do this is that your background or your backstory, your backdrop, the world that you've created, make it an intricate and interwoven part of your plot and your story. Let it be a driving force, not just window dressing. Next, we have identity as plot engine. So Peyton Gray is not hiding some secret superpower. No, it's actually the opposite of that. She is powerless. She doesn't have any power. And that's what makes it so memorable, because it actually takes that trope of the chosen one that has these secret powers that they get manifested. It takes that trope and flips it on its head, because Peyton doesn't have any powers. This story takes something that's universally relatable, imposter syndrome and puts it into a fantastical setting. Readers can relate to the feeling like they don't belong, and taking that element and adding it into a high stakes situation where you either fit in and belong or you die really elevates the stakes, but it's relatable to the reader. Then we have Kai, and Kai is a great character. He's probably my favorite character in the book. He, opposite of Peyton, he does have powers, but he also has a conscience that is really just causing him to have a lot of internal conflict because he wants to be something better than what he's been told his whole life he has to be. And so for him, you've got this conflict of being something that you trying to be better and trying to be something different. And so each one of these characters has a secret. They have something that they're hiding from not only the people around them, but from each other. This creates romantic tension that doesn't interrupt the plot. It is the plot. It is a masterful intertwining of character, stakes, and emotional intrigue and an emotional depth that keeps you reading. So you've made it this far. Stick around because the next 3 things I'm going to talk about are really the critical key to Lauren Roberts' marketing of her book that made her a success. And the first one is her BookTok campaign before she even had a book written. So Lauren Roberts didn't just drop a book on us. She started building a following by getting people involved in the writing of the book. So she would post things like, here's 2 names. Which name do you think is best for this character? And she got people invested and involved in the evolution of her book. By release day, Lauren Roberts had a full-fledged team of people that were invested in this book, and they actually felt like they had some ownership of it because they helped write it. They helped make some of those decisions. Brilliant marketing. Traditional marketing departments will spend thousands of dollars on creating and building this kind of momentum for a book. But Lauren Roberts built it into the process of writing the book. She got these people invested, and so when that book came out, they wanted to buy a copy. The lesson here is profound. Let your audience be a part and see how you're building this world and this story that you're creating. Let them in on the process. Ask them for ideas for names. Do they like name A or name B? Do they like this scene or this scene? And you can get people invested in your journey as a writer. This community-driven approach is a critical part of the success of Powerless. And next we have Cover Psychology 101. So let's talk about the cover of Powerless. Now, it is a beautiful book. It's sleek, it's very streamlined, it's a great cover. You immediately know, okay, so we're in the world of TikTok and YouTube where we've got thumbnails, and so we got little teeny tiny pictures, and you want your book cover to be immediately recognizable. And Powerless, even if you're looking at the spine, you immediately know what book this is by either the spine or the cover. It's also sophisticated enough that an adult wouldn't feel bad about reading this YA book, and YA wouldn't feel bad about reading this book because it looks kind of like an adult book, but kind of like a YA book. It meets both audiences, but it's great. It's really well branded. And when you're talking about your book cover, you want to make sure that your book cover is good enough that people are immediately going to be able to see it, that it can be shrunk down into these little tiny thumbnails, and people will recognize the book cover. Now let's talk about the self-pub Springboard. So here's a fun fact, because Lauren Roberts uploaded an early version of Powerless to Kindle Vela in 2021. And because of her work on TikTok, it became a #1 bestseller. And an editor saw how many copies were sold, and saw all the hype. And she was offered a traditional book publishing deal by Simon Schuster within months of that original upload. Now, this is really an interesting thing. Publishing has really, the trends in publishing have changed. Self-publishing is a way, if you do it correctly, that you can attract the attention of traditional publishers. Because what traditional publishers are looking for now is that you have an established readership, that you have already developed your market. Finish your book, absolutely, do it. But if possible, do it in the public. You want to engage with the public. You want to serialize your story and build your audience as you're writing your book. You want to let the data speak for itself, because the data shows us that the publishing industry is still changing. And so this is also speaking to the importance of writing your book, but engaging with social media and the various platforms in a way that builds your audience as you write your book. Do these 6 things with your story, and you won't just be relying on luck. You will have a pattern or a blueprint to help you achieve success in this changing publishing landscape. Powerless didn't hack the YA fantasy market by accident. It was a deliberate effort of Lauren Roberts to have a high concept pitch and get her audience invested in the story and hook them in before the story was even written. Lauren Roberts proved that the most powerful tool isn't necessarily on the page itself. It's about the community engagement. It's about getting people invested and letting them see and engage with the story as it's being built, brick by brick. If you write fantasy, study this blueprint. Apply these things to your own writing journey. And if you're just a reader and you're just interested in the writing journey and what goes into writing a book, well, enjoy the journey because it's a good one. Thanks for watching.